it's Bless, and today we're going to be putting Disney characters inside the world of Harry Potter. We're going to be taking the 3 main attributes of each character to decide what house they would be in, and what their best classes would be, what their worst classes would be, what animal they would have, what patronus they would have, and what occupation they would be in. And then my magical art robot Craig will make a photo of them to see what they would look like at Hogwarts. We're going to start with Aladdin. According to Google, his 3 main attributes are resourcefulness, adventurous, and charismatic. Okay, Craig, according to Aladdin's 3 main attributes, what house do you think he would be in?
Gryffindor!
So Craig thinks that Aladdin would be in Gryffindor because of his bravery and adventurousness. Craig also thinks that Aladdin's best classes would be defense against the dark arts and transfiguration and charms. His worst classes apparently would be divination, history of magic, and herbology. His animal would apparently be a ferret, and his patronus would be a monkey like Abu. His occupation would be, he would become an auror because of his bravery and his resourcefulness and his adventurousness and his willingness to fight for justice, like Batman. I honestly think he would become an auror. Okay, Craig, let's see this photo of Aladdin in Gryffindor. Okay, so this is Aladdin in Gryffindor. Why are they always outside of the castle? I feel like it would be more realistic if he was in like a classroom or if he was like out on the Quidditch fields. He would play Quidditch. He would play Quidditch. Am I right? I'm right. He would play Quidditch, I feel like. Do I think this is what he would look like? Sure, I guess. He would look younger, I feel like. Next is Jasmine, and according to Google, her 3 main attributes are independence, courageousness, and empatheticness. Okay, Craig, according to these 3 main attributes, what house do you think Jasmine would be in?
Gryffindor!
Okay, so according to Craig, he thinks she would also be in Gryffindor because of her courage and willingness to stand up for what she believes in. So, like, okay. And apparently, her best classes would be charms, defense against the dark arts, and care of magical creatures. And I guess that has something to do with her tiger, you know? Don't know what his name is, but I'll figure out later. And her worst classes would be divination, potions, and arithmancy. And apparently, her animal would be an owl, and her patronus, a tiger, and her occupation would be a magical law enforcement officer. For the ministry, I think she would work for the ministry. I can see that. I can see her walking through the ministry halls like, oh, hey, what's up, Dawn? Let's see this picture of Jasmine, Craig. Okay, so this one's a bit more realistic because she's actually in the owlery. She's in there. And she's taking a letter to her owl. She's smiling, very big. She's like, oh, I'm so excited to get this letter to my owl right now. This is pretty realistic, I feel like. I feel like this is what she would look like. I like that one. It's very nice. Next is Jafar, and according to Google, his 3 main attributes are ambition, cunning, and manipulativeness.
Slytherin!
So according to Craig, he thinks that Jafar would be in Slytherin, and I agree, because he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. And apparently, his best classes would be potions, dark arts, and ancient runes. I can see that. I can definitely see that, yeah. And his worst classes would be care of magical creatures, herbology, and divination. I can see that too. Except divination, I feel like he would be better at divination, honestly. Actually, no, I don't think so. And his animal would be a cat, and his patronus, a snake, and his occupation would be a dark wizard. For like he'd probably be a Death Eater for Voldemort, honestly. I can see that. Okay, Craig, let's see what Jafar would look like in the Hogwarts world. It's young Jafar, apparently. I can see it. He's kind of creepy. You have to admit that it's creepy, you know? But he's working potions. I feel like he'd be really good at potions. He looks like he'd be really good friends with Snape, so he's got that going for him. Next is Ariel, and according to Google, her 3 main attributes are curious, adventurous, and determined.
Hufflepuff!
And according to Craig, he thinks that she would be in Hufflepuff. And I agree with this one. I think she would definitely be in Hufflepuff. And so her best classes would be charms, transfiguration, and herbology. And her worst classes would be arithmancy, ancient runes, and divination. I can see that. I can definitely see the herbology. She's kind of got a Neville Longbottom thing going for her, you know? I see it. And her animal would be a fish, and her patronus a dolphin, and her occupation would become a magi zoologist. I think that's just like a magic zoologist. Okay, Craig, let's see that picture of Ariel. I like this one. I think this definitely looks like young Ariel. And like, yeah, she has the red hair. She would be a Weasley, I feel like. She would be a part of the Weasley fam, you know, except she's Ariel, so she wouldn't, but she's attentively listening. She's probably in Transfiguration right now, learning about how to turn beetles into teapots. She's probably learning about that. Next is Prince Eric, and according to Google, his 3 main attributes are intelligent, kind-hearted, and resourceful. What house do you think Prince Eric would be in, based off of these attributes?
Ravenclaw!
Okay, so Craig thinks that Prince Eric would be in, like Ravenclaw. That I can see that. Oh, it's definitely giving a Neville Longbottom and Luna Lovegood kind of thing, because she was in Ravenclaw, he was in Hufflepuff. But actually, according to J.K. Rowling, they didn't last because like it was just summer left, so that's actually kind of sad. We know Eric and Ariel get together, so we don't need to worry about that. His best classes would be Defense Against the Dark Arts, Charms, and Transfiguration. I can see that. I can see him whipping out his wand for like Defense Against the Dark Arts, you know, like whoosh, Expelliarmus. And his worst classes would obviously be Divination and Arithmancy and Ancient Runes. What is Ancient Runes? They didn't really talk about that in the book. Like, they didn't tell us what that was. Is it just like studying ancient? I don't know. I'll look it up later. His patronus would be a horse. Okay. And his occupation would be a curse breaker for the ministry. So like, curse breaker means like there's a curse on a toilet that it won't stop overflowing, and he'd be the one to break that curse. Stuff like that, you know? Okay, Craig, can you please show me the picture of Prince Eric in Ravenclaw? So, he's riding a unicorn. He doesn't look young though. He kind of just looks like he's like normal Prince Eric who's just coming to visit Hogwarts for like the weekend as like a sabbatical. But he doesn't really look like he's going to Hogwarts. He doesn't look like he's like actually going to Hogwarts. Next is Ursula, and according to Google, her 3 main attributes are manipulative, power hungry, and charismatic. Craig, what house do you think she would be in?
Slytherin!
He thinks it's Slytherin, and I think we all knew it was Slytherin. Every bad guy belongs in Slytherin. I mean, it's just plain sense. It's common sense. And her best classes would be dark arts, potions, and charms. I can see that definitely because she already whips up the potions, you know. And her worst classes would be care of magical creatures, herbology, and divination. And her animal would be a cat, and her patronus would be an octopus. And her occupation, she would become a dark arts professor. I see that. I can see that, guys. Okay, Craig, can you show us all the picture of Ursula in Hogwarts land? So it's like a 32-year-old woman, not somebody who's actively in Hogwarts. That is not a child. She is not going to Hogwarts. She has graduated, and she's been graduated for like 18 years. And isn't Ursula supposed to be, you know? Next is Elsa, and according to Google, her 3 main attributes are independent, powerful, and reserved.
Ravenclaw!
He thinks that she would be in Ravenclaw. Her best classes would be Transfiguration, Charms, and Arithmancy. That's actually pretty accurate too, I feel like. And her worst classes would be Care of Magical Creatures, Herbology, and Divination. I don't know about that. I think she would be good at Care of Magical Creatures. Who knows? And her animal would be a snowy owl, and her patronus would be a snow leopard, and her occupation would be a wand maker. I can see her as a wand maker, you know, like making white wands. Is there such thing as a white wand? Okay, Craig, can you please show us this picture of Elsa in the magical world? She looks like a professor more than a student. She kind of looks like Harry Potter because of the round glasses. She has no scar, but still, he could have done better with making her look younger. It ain't bad. Next is Anna, and according to Google, her 3 main attributes are optimistic, determined, and loyal. Craig, what house do you think she would be in?
Hufflepuff.
Hufflepuff? She seems like she'd be a Hufflepuff / Gryffindor kind of girl, you know? I see that. Yeah, I mean, do you see that? I see that. And apparently her best classes would be herbology, care of magical creatures, and defense against the dark arts. Yep, that sounds pretty accurate. And her worst classes would be potions, divination, and arithmancy. And her animal would be an owl, and her patronus would be a dog. I would have thought it would be like, can your patronus be like a snowman? Because that's what it would be. And her occupation would be a healer, you know, like at there's a hospital in Harry Potter, I don't know what it's called. Craig, can you show us that picture of Anna? This is what Anna would look like if she was in Harry Potter. And can I be honest? She's basically wearing the same thing she was wearing in Frozen 2. All she's doing is she's holding a wand. Who holds their wand with 2 hands? That's what she's doing, and I don't like it. But I honestly think this is what she would look like if she was in the Harry Potter world, so I think he did a pretty good job, you know? He could have dressed her up and made her a little bit look like a little bit younger, but like, you know. Next is Kristoff, and according to Google, his 3 main attributes are resourceful, practical, and loyal. And Craig, what house do you think he would be in?
Hufflepuff.
Hufflepuff. I think he would be in Gryffindor. That's something I disagree in. He would be in Gryffindor, definitely. His best classes would be herbology, care of magical creatures, and defense against the dark arts. I could definitely see that. His worst classes would be potions, divination, and arithmancy. I can also see that. His animal would be an owl. His patronus would be a reindeer, obviously. His occupation would be magical zoologist. I disagree on that. I feel like he would become an Auror, honestly. Craig, can you show us Kristoff in Harry Potter land? It looks like Craig just took a picture from How to Train Your Dragon and photoshopped Kristoff's face onto the person riding the dragon. Is that supposed to be a hippogriff? Because it doesn't look like one. That bugs me. That really bugs me. His head is a little big. He looks young. Yeah, so that's not bad. I think he got the youngness right, and I feel like he would be riding hippogriffs. Yeah, it's pretty accurate other than the hippogriff. The next one is Belle, and according to Google, her 3 main attributes are intelligent, love of learning, and compassionate. Craig, what house do you think Belle would be in?
Ravenclaw.
Ravenclaw? I think she would be in Ravenclaw too, because Ravenclaws are known for reading a lot, they're known for learning a lot, and Belle is like that. She's like that. So yeah, I think that's good. Her best classes would be arithmancy, ancient runes, and transfiguration, and her worst classes would be herbology, divination, and care of magical creatures. So she's basically Hermione? Yeah. Her animal would be an owl, and her patronus would be a rabbit. Yeah, I can see that. I can see it being a rabbit. Yeah, I can see that. Her occupation would be a magical historian, like a professor of, I don't know. I don't know what that means. Okay, Craig, can you show us the picture of Belle in Hogwarts? She's in the library, obviously. She's like in a pile of books, and she looks younger. This is actually really accurate because I feel like she's wearing blue, Ravenclaw. She's in the library. Ravenclaws love learning. She looks younger. I think this is honestly pretty good. I like that one. Next is the Beast, and according to Google, his 3 main attributes are noble, protective, and learning. Craig, what house do you think he would be in?
Gryffindor.
Gryffindor. Yeah, I can see that. I can see him being a Gryffindor. I can see that. His best classes would obviously be defense against the dark arts, transfiguration, and care of magical creatures. He is a magical creature, so obviously his worst classes would be divination, herbology, and arithmancy. And his animal would be a mouse. His patronus would be a stag, like Harry Potter. And his occupation would be a professor of magical creatures. I don't see that. I can see him being like working at the ministry. I don't see him being a professor of magical creatures. I can't see him being a professor. Well, okay, I guess since he is a beast, like he kind of relates to Lupin, who did Defense Against the Dark Arts, and he turned into a werewolf. Lupin is my favorite. Craig, can you please show us the picture of the beast in Hogwarts? He's huge and furry. I didn't expect him to be in his beast form. I was expecting him to be like his human form, but like I guess I don't like that one because it's a beast. I just don't like it. I'm sorry. Next is Gaston, and according to Google, his 3 main attributes are arrogant, strong, and popular. Craig, what house do you think he would be in?
Slytherin!
I think he would be in Slytherin too, guys. Every villain should be in Slytherin. His best classes would be dark arts, charms, and potions. I can see that. I can see young Gaston being good at those things. He's kind of giving off a Draco vibe, you know, like I'm from a privileged family. His worst classes would be herbology, care of magical creatures, and divination. His animal would be a boar. Okay, you're allowed to bring a boar. And his patronus would be a gorilla. I don't think it would be. It would be like a really strong, buff horse. And his occupation would be a Quidditch player. Okay, Craig, can you please show us Gaston in Hogwarts? He's like holding on to the broom with one hand and then the rest of his body's like levitating. And he does not look young. These are not adults in school. These are supposed to be young teenagers, not adult men. The next one is Cinderella, and according to Google, her 3 main attributes are kind-hearted, resilient, and hopeful. Craig, what house do you think she would be in?
Hufflepuff!
According to Craig, he thinks she would be in Hufflepuff. I think she'd be in Hufflepuff too. I think she's a Hufflepuff. She's a Hufflepuff. Yeah. Her best classes would be herbology, care of magical creatures, and charms, apparently. I can see that happening. I can see her loving the creatures because she goes, ah, ah, ah. That's Snow White, isn't it? That's not. Okay, never mind. And her worst classes would be potions, divination, and arithmancy. Her animal would be a mouse, obviously, and her patronus would be a swan. I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. Her occupation would be a magical creatures rehabilitation specialist. That's a mouthful. Imagine somebody asking you what you do and you're like, I'm a magical creatures rehabilitation specialist. I'm actually proud that I said that all at once. Okay, Craig, can you please show us the picture of Cinderella? Finally, she looks young. She's not like in her 20s. She actually looks young, and she's wearing Hufflepuff clothing. And I think this is actually really good. She's holding an owl, and she's talking to it in the woods. I feel like she would be the kind that walks through the forbidden woods, even though people say not to. The headmaster says not to. She's a rebel. I like it. I like it. Next is Prince Charming from Cinderella. His 3 main attributes are chivalrous, charismatic, and brave. Craig, what house do you think Prince Charming would be in?
Gryffindor!
Gryffindor. I think he'd be in Gryffindor too, because that, like, chivalrous, charismatic, brave, that's all a Gryffindor is. They're all that. Yeah. I have one question. What is Prince Charming's actual name? Or is it just Prince Charming? It's just his name? He just goes up to somebody and he's like, oh, I'm Prince Charming. Apparently, his best classes are Defense Against the Dark Arts, Charms, and Transfiguration. And his worst classes are Divination, Arithmancy, and Ancient Runes. I can see that. His animal would be a ferret, and his patronus would be a horse. His occupation would be an oar. I can see that. I can see that. And I can also see him, like, becoming a minister of magic. I can see that. Can you? Craig, can we please see the picture of Prince Charming in Hogwarts? I think Craig was aiming for like a student in his last year when he's 17, because this kid is older, but he's not 30s. He's not in his 30s. So he is carrying big books, and it looks like he's walking through Diagon Alley. I really like this one. I think it looks like what he would look like when he is in Hogwarts. Next is Flynn Rider, or Eugene Fitzherbert. According to Google, his 3 main attributes are charming, witty, and resourceful. Craig, what house do you think Eugene would be in?
Gryffindor!
Gryffindor. I think he'd be in Gryffindor too. I'm gonna say this, I don't know if anybody would agree. I feel like he would be a Gryffindor, like Slytherin mix. Like he would have the cunning and the goodness of Gryffindor, but he would have the sarcasm and the stuff of the Slytherin, you know? He'd be that mix. His best classes would be Charms, Transfiguration, and Defense Against the Dark Arts. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. His worst classes would be Divination, Arithmancy, and Ancient Runes. And his animal would be a ferret, and his patronus would be a stag. Would it though? His occupation would be a curse breaker. Craig, can we see this picture of Flynn, or Eugene, in Hogwarts? Why are they all riding unicorns? Why? Like, that is not a manly thing to do. He definitely looks younger. I like this one because he looks so much younger. It doesn't look like he's a man in his 30s riding a unicorn. It looks like he's an actual young man. Not a man, but a young man riding a unicorn. I really like this one just because he looks younger, and the only unrealistic thing about this picture is I don't think Flynn would stoop as low as to ride a unicorn. Next is Rapunzel, and according to Google, her 3 main attributes are creative, optimistic, and brave. Craig, what house do you think she would be in?
Gryffindor!
Gryffindor! I think she would either be in Gryffindor or Hufflepuff. There's that little mix, like Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw. I think, like, not as much Ravenclaw as there is Gryffindor and Hufflepuff, but there's the slightest bit in there. Her best classes would be Charms, Transfiguration, and Care of Magical Creatures. I can definitely see that. That's accurate. And her worst classes would be Potions, Divination, and Arithmancy. I can also see that. Her animal would be a mouse. I feel like it would be a lizard, you know, like Pascal, but okay. Her patronus would be a doe, and her occupation would be a Hogwarts professor. I can honestly see her teaching Care of Magical Creatures or like herbology, but yeah. Okay, Craig, let's see this picture of Rapunzel in Hogwarts. So she's like dancing with books, and her hair is brown, not blonde. Craig, he's never seen that movie, so he doesn't really know. Honestly, I like this one. Next is Mulan, and her 3 main attributes are courageous, determined, and loyal. And Craig, what would her Hogwarts house be?
Gryffindor!
Gryffindor, okay. I feel like she would be in Gryffindor. Either Gryffindor or Ravenclaw. She seems like a bit of a Ravenclaw to me. Gryffindor works too. Her best classes would be Defense Against the Dark Arts, Charms, and Transfiguration. And her worst classes would be Divination, Potions, and Ancient Runes. And her animal would be a phoenix, and her patronus would be a dragon. That's cool. And her occupation would be an orer. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think she would be an orer. But yeah, okay. Craig, can you please show us a picture of Mulan in Hogwarts? Hogwarts is not in China. That's an issue. I think that that's a problem because it's not in China. So she could have just been wearing her outfit with the teapot at actual Hogwarts, you know? Other than that, she does look younger than like her actual self, so like she looks like a student, and she is wearing the Gryffindor colors. So I think it's good other than the scenery. It's not bad. Next is Prince Lee Shang, and his 3 main attributes are disciplined, skilled, and courageous. Craig, what would be Prince Lee Shang's house?
Gryffindor!
Gryffindor, okay, so he would be in Gryffindor. Gryffindor? I think he's a Gryffindor. I think, yeah, it gives off Gryffindor. His best classes would be Defense Against the Dark Arts, Transfiguration, and Charms. I can see that. His worst classes would be Divination, Herbology, and Ancient Runes. And his animal would be a ferret, and his patronus would be a horse. His occupation would be Head of Magical Law Enforcement. I think that means like leading oars that work for the ministry. I think he could be that. I think that could be what he would be. Craig, can you please show us the picture of Lee Shang in Hogwarts? In this, he's like fighting with a wand. He doesn't look younger. He doesn't look like a student. That's my problem. He's holding a wand though, and he's like, so he has that going for him. It's met. Next is Moana, and her three main attributes are brave, determined, and compassionate. Craig, what house would Moana be in?
Gryffindor.
Gryffindor. I just watched the Moana movie recently, so I feel like she would be a Gryffindor. Yeah, I feel like. Her best classes would be Defense Against the Dark Arts, Charms, and Transfiguration, and her worst classes would be Divination, Potions, and Ancient Runes. Her animal would be a cat, and her patronus would be a sea turtle. Yeah, I think that works. I think it would be a stingray for her grandma, you know? That would be more accurate, but her occupation would be a keeper of the magical creatures. No, I think she would be an auror. I don't think she would be the keeper of the magical creatures. But Craig, can you show us that picture of Moana in the Harry Potter magical world? Again with scenery. Hogwarts is not by the beach. It's not where Moana lives. It is in England. It is somewhere in the mountains. That's one of my problems. It looks a lot like Moana, and she's wearing her robes, and she looks like she just dropped her wand and she's looking around for it, and because she's in a fight, and like she has to find her wand quickly before like the other person gets to her, you know? Next is Maui, and his three main attributes are strong, confident, and trickster. Craig, what house would Maui be in?
Gryffindor.
Gryffindor. I don't think he would be in Gryffindor. I think he'd be like Slytherin. I'm gonna be honest. I think he would be like half and half, you know? But you know, I'm not the one who's choosing this. His best classes would be Defense Against the Dark Arts, Transfiguration, and Charms, and his worst classes would be Divination, Potions, and Herbology. His animal would be a toad, and his patronus would be an eagle. Yes, because he does turn into an eagle. That's good. His occupation would be a magical athlete. Yeah, like lifting up the weights magically. Craig, can you please show us the picture of Maui in the magical world? Who's excited? Okay, so this is Maui. He looks younger, honestly. He does look younger than he looks in the movie, but it's not hitting the spot. What is she doing? If you want to, you can subscribe, or you can go watch more, or you can do a little combo and you can subscribe and watch more.